Hi everyone, Ronald Ingram here, your rebel banker futurist broadcasting live right now from the Nevada high desert, looking down in Luxor Pyramid. We're going out on X, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and everywhere else the signal reaches. Some pretty big developments to share. So I wanted to bump up our call normally we have our Thursday call, moved it to today, and we'll stay on this cadence, I think, going forward. So Wednesdays at 6 instead of Thursdays, and the next call will be Saturday morning at 8 a.m. So we'll keep that call going as well for the other hemispheres of the world. So yeah, so this is a bit unexpected. So I wanted to, yeah, wanted to get it. It's always I like to share information as early as possible, but not too early. So what we have to talk about today is something that was further down the roadmap that is coming on faster than expected. I love it. You see a trend here? Everything seems to be happening faster, and that's I love that. So what I'm talking about tonight, one of the new things, that sort of the unexpected thing that prompted this call, is I have been in conversations now for a couple of months, and I've been very vague. But conversations with I call them a merchant acquiring provider, merchant services provider in the digital asset space. And this company, I'm not going to name the name tonight, but I'll tell you all about it. But I haven't actually. We have a handshake. We've got economics have been agreed, so it's serious enough that I wanted to tell you about it, so that you're, yeah, it just seems like the right time to share this information with everybody. But I don't want to overshare, because we haven't actually inked the deal. So just full transparency. I could say I've got a deal, but it's not. You never really like to say you have a deal. At least I don't, until you actually have wet ink or crypto signature or some real legitimate signature, right? So we're very close, and both excited to move forward with this deal at this point. And what it involves is expediting SPOCK as a method of value exchange at the point of sale. And by the point of sale, I mean the 160 million terminals around the world that accept Visa and MasterCard. Yeah, so let that sink in for a second. We're talking about using SPOCK as a digital asset. It's a digital asset as a means of value exchange at the merchant point of sale. Now, those who are unfamiliar with the space may wonder why that's even necessary. There are many reasons. The one that people usually talk about is merchant frustration with interchange fees. You know, every time you pay with a Visa or MasterCard, there is a fee that the merchant has to pay to the acquiring bank, and that fee is shared amongst the whole ecosystem of players between the issuing bank and the merchant bank, and all the different validation services, and Visa and MasterCard are actually a tiniest sliver of that whole thing. A lot of people misunderstand and think that Visa and MasterCard make big chunks of every transaction. No, they make less than pennies per transaction usually. And so, but it's all the other things. The processes involved in chargebacks, for example, are very costly. A transaction, once it occurs, doesn't actually settle. Merchants normally get paid in 3 days after a transaction happens, but it's never really fully settled until often weeks or months later because of the potential for returns and chargebacks to occur, which are very complicated and procedurally costly from an administrative point of view. So there's all kinds of opportunities for re-engineering that many people have been working on. I've been working on for decades, and so crypto is a beautiful solution for that. And that's what, most people would just leave it there and say, oh yeah, merchants have to pay fees and crypto's free. I like to be honest. Crypto is not free, okay? There are transactions and costs associated with administering, for a merchant to administer any kind of payment. And sometimes some merchants are under the false impression that cash is free. Cash is far from free. Banks charge hefty fees to process merchant cash, which is still truly the most anonymous way of paying. But if anonymity is what you're concerned about in your self-sovereignty pursuit. But so I actually believe that cash is fine, and cash will stay, and cash will last a lot longer than people think. Many people would like it to go away, but it serves a useful purpose. And like a lot of these things, the old technology sticks, it diminishes, and is replaced by new technologies, but not fully. Very rarely is it fully replaced. It just becomes less and less important, right? Just like we're getting rid of pennies now, finally, and there are incremental changes that happen to the old hard currency systems that happen over time, and we're looking at a sea change. But still, the old guard doesn't completely ever vanish, or it takes much longer than people expect. Same thing with the card payment form, the form factor of actual plastic and metal cards, especially in the largest market in the world, which is the United States. Those will persist longer than people expect. And sometimes the old technologies make a comeback. So like the really slick metal cards and ceramics and carbon fiber and all kinds of interesting material science being used to come up with with cards that are actually kind of cool, like this one is from a vendor that I use, and it has I don't know if you can hear that. It sounds like it's real solid metal, and a card. Well, I won't show that one because that's for a bank but the X card is a metal card that is pretty cool, and with no numbers on the front or the back, just a chip inside. You can touch it to your phone and activate it. Some really cool technology there. Like cards like this, form factors like this, people don't want to necessarily have a wallet full of them, but when you're traveling and so forth, you always want to have multiple forms of payments. So it's going to be hard to get Americans in particular to completely give up this as a backup, if nothing else. So anyway, that being said, you've got this terminal network, and in the real physical world, and it's difficult for a lot of people think that the interchange alone is large enough for merchants to make a wholesale change. It really isn't. It's not as easy to sell as you would think, because merchants need to integrate the payment. So that's where this new partnership that we have comes into play. The founders of the company are old guard payment technology people that have been involved in payment innovation for a long time as well, with relationships with the card networks and terminal manufacturers and software providers for point of sale terminals. So they have the capability of making and have built this out already, providing, and their vision is to provide a network where merchants can essentially accept crypto. And SPOCK is going to be central to their infrastructure, because they've been testing it now. Testing has been going on for a while now, and they're very impressed with what they see, and it's also about people and knowledge and having the mutual understanding that people that have the scars, if you will, of having innovated in the payment and banking space for many years, there's certain knowledge and expertise that you only get from experience. So that, and our technology and our X402, they actually already have the X402 endpoints. So that will accelerate BROK as a actual merchant, as an actual digital, as an agent capable of agentic payments, actual real agentic payments. And the bigger than even an interchange, is now become, especially for newer merchants, established merchants not so much, but even any new merchants, and there's more and more merchants coming into play, more new product categories, and new types of businesses are emerging more rapidly than ever in the small and medium-sized space. The payment infrastructure has become more and more fragile. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago about my horrible experience trying to just launch ads on PayPal, and basic ads that you would think are commonplace and easy to do. As soon as you have certain words that are trigger words, anything to do with crypto, which is legal. Crypto is a perfectly legitimate legal business. What business do merchant acquirers have telling you that they're not going to accept payments for crypto? But it's not just payments, it's also like on the advertising side, their ads will be rejected if you're submitted. If they have anything to do with financial services, they have to be very careful, thoroughly vetted, more than necessary, frankly. And there are rails, and so it's gotten to be excessive. And like anything, the pendulum swings the other way, and its pendulum has swung too far, too extreme, too tight, and it becomes very, very difficult for new, medium, and small businesses to transact. It's exactly the same thing that I saw in the early days of digital banking and digital and e-commerce, as it was called, when merchants were just first trying to sell products online and couldn't find an easy way to do the basics. It's the same thing now. It's the same thing right now. We're at this VisiCalc moment where actually we're at kind of like the PayPal moment in digital commerce, where merchants are getting frustrated with the legacy, more and more frustrated with legacy payment infrastructure, and merchants that are in the high risk category. Again, I think there's been too much intervention. It's your money after all. If you're to pay in cash, you can pay for anything that you want in cash. Why are there so many restrictions on your credit cards and your debit cards? And I know all the reasons that would normally be trotted out, but in the end, it's your money. It should be your choice. So that is why one of the reasons we're so passionate about SPOCK and digital assets and decentralized banking and the global agentic banking system that we're moving towards in 5 steps. The step began with SPOCK on March 27th. So this is a major milestone in the making that we have right now with this vendor that will provide us also so the ability building in SPOCK into their infrastructure as a mechanism for either overtly or behind the scenes to facilitate exchange of value with merchants. So customer wants to pay with SPOCK or pay with other currency, but actually the focus here is SPOCK, and that's going to be mutually our focus. So imagine what that has, the effect that has. I mean, every customer that wants to interact with these merchants. And some of these merchants are high demand. So anything to do with finance, anything to do with crypto, anything to do with gaming, poly markets, trading, medicinal health and wellness products, all these categories, the categories that are deemed high risk, they do have a problem with interchange, because sometimes they're paying 10% of the ticket to pay for the risk associated with these transactions, and sometimes the risk is overinflated, but it's because of the risk, and it's partly because of you don't have finality of payment like you do with cash, right? So certain types of transactions, chargebacks just really don't make sense. If someone makes a bet, for example, you can't have a chargeback on that. So one can imagine many scenarios where there's been issues with the credit and debit card system as it exists. So you can't, and it's really, at a certain point, you can only change it. It becomes the system is collapsing under its own weight, and under the complexity of these legacy systems and legacy regulations, it starts to collapse. And this is where we come in with a clean slate for digital asset value exchange, and structuring it and setting up. And this is where their expertise, my expertise, and working with legal and compliance, understand how to set these things up so that they fit within regulatory requirements, and that's what we're doing. That's what we're setting up, and all of this is set up. So we're not talking about, I don't want to put timelines on it yet, but we're talking before end of the year now. So that was something I was talking about, agentic commerce being a next year thing. Now it could actually happen this year. So so working sessions completed, demos, real live transactions, supported by these guys have a strong engineering team, and so that gives extra depth to us as well. And this is so this is a really good, really important moment for us. And just like I think that's enough to say on this. I'm just running through my notes here to see if there's anything else. And and merch, right? That's something that is something that I'm behind on getting out, is the merch that we talked about. So I want to get, somebody's commenting on my t-shirt. So yeah, we'll get some merch out soon as well. And so this is, the other big thing is a major upgrade to our wallet. So the Genius wallet will stay as it is. Don't worry. For the newbies out there, all the simplicity, that stays exactly the same. So the easiest onboarding experience in crypto. But now, this is pretty big. Now, instead of having to get a Phantom wallet or a Soulflare wallet in the first place, which you still need to do if you want to move your SPOCK on chain to your Soulflare or Phantom wallet, so you can exchange it into USDT or other things, then you can do so. So that's really important. So so we'll be able to, with this new relationship, to have our own wallet, our own expanded wallet. So we'll have kind of the Genius wallet as it is, which is the basic, super simple version, and then we'll have a Pro. Basically, let's call it the Genius Pro wallet that has the ability to do everything that and more than a Soulflare or Phantom wallet, and be able to change and to be able to switch, so within a Genius wallet, be able to switch between different tokens and everything. So like you'll be able to do everything inside of the Spock BROK ecosystem. So that's pretty huge. That's pretty exciting. I think it's even, and it goes beyond anything like Exodus even. And those conversations haven't ended. They haven't, frankly, I've been a bit too busy with the other really exciting things, so I haven't been pressing Exodus. But the Exodus wallet, there are other wallets that are out there, but this is really kind of superior. This could be, not only do we have the simplest wallet with the Genius wallet, but this new relationship will extend the capabilities of our wallet to be the most full-featured wallet that is with the ability to facilitate merchants to receive value exchange, to do value exchange at the point of sale, and then the merchant can settle out via endpoints that they have at their current bank, or if their current bank doesn't support it, at Coinbase or Kraken or Robinhood, or the growing number of banks or companies that soon will have their own bank charters, so that those endpoints get to be a lot easier as well. So you see, that's pretty big, and more to come on that. I would say next week. I would say next week we'll have ink on that, and then I can share names and screenshots and get into even more detail. But think of it as, yeah, and one last thing. This probably puts it in a nutshell, what this is, what this partnership is this vendor is essentially trying to create an alternative option to Visa and MasterCard. I can just come out and say that. And that's massive. That's trillions of dollars, total addressable market. I'm not saying that we're going to be a $1 trillion company, or they're going to be, this is going to be a $1 trillion joint venture or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that this, though, is not like this is way bigger than a cryptocurrency. Even the big ones, way bigger than the biggest meme coin ever. Because this is in a different category, all right? So it's not really fair to compare. How big Spock gets is not our limit. We're not limited by Spock, is the thing, though. Spock is the fuel, and Spock benefits directly because of if nothing else, in many ways, but just directly, really simply, Spock benefits because there's a 20% buyback. Any revenue that's generated by neobanks, when people are buying services, when merchants are transacting, any fee revenue that's generated by neobanks, and there's a lot of different ways that fees are earned, and still saving merchants money, but there's so much money on the table that all of that feeds into the ecosystem for a buyback and to buy back additional Spock. So we are really, and it's not a change in the model. It's just expanding the utility of Spock tremendously. That's not overstating it. Those are just the facts. So, but that is, in a nutshell, so access to the terminals and that whole ecosystem using the rails that exist, but a new engine on top of that, on top of those rails. So not new rails, but, and so same thing with Solana. We're using Solana rails. There's a neat little graphic here. I see this actually evolving to, right now you've got Solana, Base, Ethereum, Bitcoin, these islands. Someone put this, I didn't generate this. Someone generated this. You've got these islands, these different of these different L1s, these different base chains, and there's a lot of, because of the inefficiencies, and this is segueing to my next point, a lot of the of the complexity in the plumbing. The plumbing is too exposed. It's not simple enough for people. Crypto isn't really designed for humans. It's designed for machines. I think I stole that line from Crypto Canvas, Andrew. But it's really true. Crypto is designed for by machines. Well, it's designed by humans for machines, though, with machines in mind. So where things go astray is, I don't know if you've ever sent tokens to the wrong address, and I know people have lost significant amounts of money sometimes with POCK, sending it to the wrong address, and sometimes it's irrecoverable, and it's gone. So what the solution is for this is agents in the middle. Is agents won't. It's very, you could say, intuitive for it's as certain things are intuitive for humans. Crypto's not one of them. You could kind of say, it's not a really good word for machine, but you could say crypto is intuitive. Maybe it's we'll just say intuitive for a machine to use crypto and make sure that the transactions get to the right address. So as we have this additional, so it's perfect that we are, as BROK is evolving and getting more skilled and more capable, as we add in these more capable wallet, that we're building BROK at the same time, so that even a newbie can have access to more sophisticated capabilities and swapping currencies, or swapping digital assets to digital currencies and USD and USDT and Bitcoin and all, and paying for transactions autonomously, having their bots, having their agents, having BROK pay for things autonomously for them. All of that, it's really important that we develop these capabilities concurrently at the same on parallel paths, and that's what we're doing. So yeah, very exciting and big. Really, everything that we are going to do, just faster. So in terms of PR, so this press release is working out pretty well compared to last. This is our third press release that went out on Tuesday. It mentions Jackson Hole and the meeting that the Fed is having on innovation. So very timely, and I timed it so that is a few days ahead of the meeting. So and this is working because there's going to be more and more talk about banking, about the Federal Reserve, about innovation, about crypto, and I think that we can be pretty confident that there's going to be good language, good words coming out of Warsh's mouth, the new chairman of the Federal Reserve. That was such huge news back in February. I think that was really quite significant too, and beneficial for the whole DeFi, decentralized crypto movement. So can't underestimate that. So the leadership of the Fed really changes things a lot. And so you've also got the head of the OCC who's there, who's also pro-innovation. And so it's going to be really interesting to see when those meetings are material, and with the new leadership, it's going to be very interesting to see. And I predict that there will be some good news, good quotes coming out of that meeting. I haven't seen that many people talking about it, so I think our press, and I've seen it, normally it's like the first day you put out the press release, you get a certain amount of traction, and then it's done. So our first day we had like 6 point, the audience based on the papers and the readership of all the different papers, right? This is how the sort of the audience of the wire, sort of the total addressable market of, if you will, of the wire is measured. And we started out around 6.7 million, which was actually lower than usual, but now it's at 10.9 million. So those press releases, even though they were days before, I think today, tomorrow, right up until Friday, maybe even after Friday, we'll get, because I was predicting what the outcome was, and I didn't see anyone else really predicting what I was predicting. And so that should get us some additional traction, additional eyeballs, and of course all that leads to eyeballs on BROK.neobanks.com and BROK and SPOCK. So that's all good. And so the reason, for those that don't know, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, the Warsh, he actually, it came out in, not that it was hidden or anything, but it was just disclosed, and I think some people were shocked that he had, I think, over a dozen cryptocurrencies in his personal possession, his personal portfolio. And I think they made him divest them prior to taking the role, but still, he had those before he went into that role. So obviously, that is, I think, those little things are very meaningful. You all know, having experience with crypto, that there's nothing replaces actual using it. You don't really understand it. You can read all about it. You can read the press releases. You can read, and it's funny, when I speak to bankers at a couple of conferences, every banker has an opinion on Bitcoin, but hardly any of them have ever even used it. So I don't think you're even really entitled to, and everyone's entitled to an opinion, but your opinion doesn't have much credibility if you haven't even done a transaction. So I really encourage, if there are any bankers, I know that some are watching on LinkedIn, so really just get started, get some SPOCK. That is not a scam. Wouldn't be putting my name on it if it were. Maybe risky or not, but it's do your own research, and it's not financial advice. This is educational advice, and this is investment activism for some, and for some it's just educational advice for the price of a book, or much less than a course. Get educated on crypto by buying some SPOCK, and just go to the site, click on it, and you can buy it with your debit card, credit card. It's because it's a digital asset, just like buying a book buying like a digital book on an ebook or something like that. So it's very easy to do, and gee, bankers, you got to get on board with this if you haven't. I hope to see that when I go to my next conference, that more than half the room have instead of having 97% that haven't, that we have 97% that have done a crypto transaction of some kind. So that is how our press release is doing. It's been more engagements, more pickups. So engagements where somebody actually writes an article, and we've had 82 engagements. So I added a press tab to our corporate website now. I only put like 27 articles up there, I think. Press newspaper articles, things that are published in news media, so news platforms, news papers and platforms and digital media and all the different sources. So that's good, because that also helps with search engine optimization, and each one builds up. So I said that any one of these could help us go viral and start getting real traction, but each one is building, each one is getting more and more traction, and 7 is kind of the magic number. When you have had 7 exposures, that's sort of the magical tipping point, where it can happen before then, but the probabilities are that after about 7 exposures, you hit a tipping point, and the same news outlets putting out, a lot of times it's the same news outlets that are putting out, that are now getting more familiar with seeing our information, and 3 times now in the last 30 days. And so we've got really lots to talk about see, that's one of the beauties of this business. I learned this in the art business. My very first business was an art gallery, and dealing with rare collectible art and artifacts and books. And there I didn't have to pay for any advertising ever, because my shows I'd have famous artists there, and colorful artwork, and interesting stories, and chiefs and elders, and shaman, even, attending at the gallery, anthropologists, really interesting people and characters. And so I would always get media coverage. And so we kind of had that going for us here too, because we're breaking all kinds of new ground. The first, I think we'll be first in many categories in terms of ZPE, and the valuations that we're going to start seeing on the company potentially when we get to that level. No, I can't make any predictions or promises about the future, but just based on the trajectory and where we're going. And we have real revenue, real traction now on the neobank side, all generated by BROK. Any of our prizes that hit, we entered a bunch of other contests and some other hackathons as well, similar to X Prize. There's one from Amazon that with total prizes over $1 million. Amazon is the nCloud, so that's not Amazon directly, but it is Amazon and nCloud. So Amazon Bedrock, which is their platform for artificial intelligence, and are working with their group that specializes in artificial intelligence and engineering team that's been dedicated to this project. So we've got real resources that have been provided at no cost. In fact, we're getting we're getting investment from in the form of credits from nCloud, and so this is totally non-dilutive financing that we're getting. So from Amazon, and then there's these other contests that we've entered, and which is normally a time-consuming thing to do, but our AI Agentic stack takes care of a lot of that for us. Also, I think, in case I hadn't mentioned, I hadn't done the math. We only did the math recently. I told you that we would get the math out. I'm just looking at something here. Let's see if I can try something here and show you this. Should have opened that before. I don't have it. Okay, I didn't have it. Next time it's easy for you to find. Just go to neobanks. Just go to brok.neobanks.com. Go to the website, and on the on the main page, just go down to the bottom, and you'll see the FTEP. And if you expand that section on the website, you'll see the singularity economics and how we measure the FTEP. And I don't think I have the table there, but we actually have quantified mathematically what the FTP level is that we're at. And conservatively, it's around 80, fully governed, because I tend to, right now, I work very closely with the orchestration layer and do a lot of the quality assurance. So the constraint now is kind of like a Ferrari engine that has a governor on it so that you can't get the full horsepower. So in terms of capacity, our system right now mathematically is at over 80 FTEP, and maybe as high. Well, the math says the math. The math says 96. That's full capacity, so we're not operating at that. And in fact, we couldn't even do that right now, even if we put full gas on, because there's the human constraint. So, so I need to automate. I need to build a few more agents actually, and do a little bit more automation on orchestration layers and so forth to get up. But we're getting really close to 100 FTEP, and now I have the math to show it, like the actual mathematical formulas. In summary, I think I haven't shared all of it, but there's enough, I think, for you to calculate. I stopped short of sharing the full charter of all the seats that we have filled. But right now, so for example, we count the two big ones are our IT development. So we have 12 FTEP in the whole, and all the seats related to IT, information technology development, requirements, testing, database, networking, all aspects of IT, and Hestia also has. We're listing here at 12, which is very conservative. We could say we could put a much bigger number on that, but until I have that tested, and this is the other thing. So actual Amazon, not in cloud, but Amazon as well, is going to help us with testing, testing to scale our models so that we're ready for the global agentic kind of volumes that we want to be at in 18 months or less, well ahead of schedule, right? So that because we could, I always like to, I don't want this thing, it'd be horrible for us to go viral too fast and for things to break, right? So we don't want to be in that situation. So we're ensuring that everything is tested and ready for scaling, and it is right now, but we want to keep having multiple contingency plans, failovers, like we already do, for many things, for everything. We don't have any real single points of failure right now. We've got, but we want extra eyes from extra experts to just because this is serious. We have very serious goals to achieve here, and so we want to make sure that we are well ahead of the game. So other PR that we have coming up. So we've got, you remember I did the interview with the Eli of the Biz AV Jets, the private jet company, and I just saw the article, the finished article, and let's see here. Okay, so I'm not going to be on the cover of the magazine, but I'm going to be on the lower splash. So I'm going to be on the cover, but not the main cover, darn. But that's still good, because, I mean, think about how targeted this audience is. So this is not just one company. This is the National Business Aviation Association. And so I'm going to be in the issue at their national conference. So maybe there'll even be some speaking opportunities, and so this is a being a CEO myself and talking to other CEOs. There are certain applications for what we've built here, like just the auditor and checking having the peace of mind that know that you're not reliant on your CFO or your accountant, that you can cross-check and double-check things. That peace of mind is worth a lot. It's certainly worth $49 a month subscription. So maybe we'll bump the price up by then. But no, we won't until I think we'll keep it where it's at until there's significant new features that are added, and we're continuing to add new features all the time. Like we added visualizations, so now you can generate simple images, for example. And NABU News, that went live just before on Friday, I think, and very recently anyway. We're rolling things out so fast it's hard to keep track. But NABU news that went out, and what that is, and that's strategic because we're with NABU news. Like BROK is your own banker. BROK doesn't work for a financial company or a bank that's trying to sell any particular product, which any banker that you've ever talked to is working for. They're paid by the bank. They're working for the bank, and they're not working for you. They're working to you as a customer, but you're not the principal. So with BROK, you're the principal. You are the sovereign for BROK, and your word is law, and insofar as it doesn't break the law, and so we have guardrails in place so that BROK, just to the extent that to keep everyone out of trouble, so that you don't accidentally or intentionally break laws in how you're using these products. But and this is not legal advice, and this is not investment advice, and BROK doesn't provide legal advice, but BROK does do detailed analysis on contracts that your lawyer will appreciate. It could actually save you money with your lawyer if you use BROK the right way to analyze the agreement and give you feedback and educate you on terms that you don't maybe you don't understand, and then you can ask better questions of your lawyer, and save time that way, right? But don't have BROK write a contract for you and say, hey, and give it to your lawyer and say, hey, I've already written it. It's actually going to end up costing you more money. So that way. So the right way to do it is to draft an outline of terms and things that you think that you want, but don't presume to draft a full complex agreement and have your lawyer appreciate that. Or have your, but when you're receiving contracts, then it's really great, because then you can ask questions about you can do the first review, have BROK do the first review of a contract, and see if there's anything missing. I did it today just on a standard NDA, and it looked standard to me. And NDAs, it's like, there's not really money involved, but they're important. They're important contracts. So you want to, and I found some things in there that wouldn't have been good for me to sign. So so even basic agreements, it's good to just run them through BROK, and BROK will say, it'll always say talk to your lawyer, but BROK will also say something that says, I wouldn't sign this, right, without this, and then you can check with your lawyer and see what the risk really is. And same thing with, use all these tools, all those tools that are available right now for $49, well, actually for $9, actually for nothing dollars. You can try them all out for free. You have to be careful the way you use free, but I mean, we're giving you tokens. If you go to the site right now, you get 100 tokens, and that's enough to pay to sample all the services that BROK provides. And then you can add more if you want. And if you see the value in the token, then you can go on a subscription plan. And it's not a use it or lose it subscription plan. Any tokens that you don't use, they accrue, and they're digital assets. So you're actually building your balance of digital assets that are fungible and have value. So and they're scarce, like Bitcoin, except at fractions of a penny at this point, instead of over $80,000. Isn't that fantastic what Bitcoin is doing now? So, and I think that's going to continue. What else? So the oh yeah, so we the other deals that we've been NABU is also, I was just talking about NABU news. NABU news, part of what NABU does is it's our competitive intelligence. So it looks at all the other banks, and excluding the bank that I own, so that there's no bias. Looks at all American banks, at all their offerings. It looks at all the trading systems, and we call BS on, man, it's getting crazy. The things that are being that people are saying about even BROK bot. I mean, it's great, but people are not making the returns that they claim that they're making. It's just, it's downright fraudulent in my mind, and that's not good for the industry. There's no need for it. It's amazing what can be done is amazing. We don't need to exaggerate so much, and it's at a certain point it becomes damaging. I think it's good to open people's eyes to the potential. So, but you don't need to inflate it. I like that people are, and I hope that more people will test BROK bot so they can see what the potential is. and what we have developed is something that is more sophisticated and more specialized, still quite broad, everything to do with health and wealth, not from a medical sense, not medical advice, but biohacking research, health research, all the latest science, and that is, and my own protocol that has worked very well for me as a test subject, experimenting on myself, where I've reduced my biological age very significantly, which is, and that my whole protocol is available on Substack in written form, and it's also baked into BROK right now. So that is all there for you, and NABU, yeah, just gives us an idea about what's out there, what's real, what's not real, and then we also share what we are doing that is real. And I could put out hype too. I could say, we've got systems that right now are based on regression, on back testing, based on back testing, would have performed 460% in one case, but that's not real. That's not real. That's because when you do back testing, you can and then that's even without, and those returns that I talked to you about that I mentioned are without fitting the model to the data, right? And because that's something that happens too. So you say, well, if we would have done this, and then you make adjustments, and then the return gets higher and higher and higher, but it's not real. Another trick is, so because sometimes they show the live tickers, right? They show and sometimes it's real legitimate screens that you're seeing screenshots or live tapes of. However, you don't know that they have 100 of those running, and so 1 out of 100 is generating those returns, and other ones are losing tons of money, but they only show you the ones that are getting the great returns. So that's the kind of stuff that we're exposing and going to continue to expose, along with the real story. So then after we do all of our research, and we've tested thousands of models now, and we've looked at, we haven't looked at thousands of systems that are promoted, because frankly we just see the same patterns repeated over and over and over. Like one is, I put 6 BROK bots together, and this team of 6 BROK bots outperformed a hedge fund, or replaced $1 million salaries of hedge fund managers, and greatly exaggerated. Often there will be one nugget of truth in there somewhere, or 2 or 3, but the story is just so inflated. And then so then they change it from 6 BROK bots, and then a new image, and then say it's 8 BROK bots, right? Well, it's all a lie. So sorry to burst any bubbles, but it's not true. So I'm not sorry. We're about truth here. So, but there are promising edges that we have found and we'll share those. And unless we're retained to do custom research for somebody, or somebody has a system that they just need automated, then that becomes proprietary under NDA, and we can't share those. But that hasn't happened yet, and if it does happen, I'll let you know as well. So say that there's some systems that we can't talk about, but we're able to share everything still so far. But we are in discussions with the family office. That's been ongoing for some time now, and that's really a big deal. That'll be fantastic for SPOCK. They want to use the tools that we've developed in NABU, the BROK's autonomous trading capabilities that I already use for SPOCK. You may notice don't want to tell exactly how that algorithm works, because then people will try to game it. I've seen that happen already. It's this cat and mouse game that goes on, so I won't say exactly what happens, but it's probably, you can tell that we have algorithms that are doing some systematic, basically buying dips. So we've never, and also never selling. We still haven't sold any SPOCK. And we have mechanisms that we're putting into place to be able to borrow against the SPOCK that we do have, so that we never have to spend SPOCK, because I only hold two things. I've sold all stocks that I think, yeah, a little bit of SpaceX and Tesla that lingering, and those are in, but the majority of my holdings are Bitcoin and SPOCK, because I can't see where else, that's going to be the basis of our agentic global banking system, and we're baking SPOCK into everything. And now we have partners that it looks like are going to be baking SPOCK into their systems as well. So very exciting for us. Yeah, and that is, I think, covers all the big news. And we'll have our next SPOCK talk on I feel like there's something else. If there's something else, I will put it in the notes. But yeah, for now, for everybody, just keep on paying attention, and thank you for all the support, and for joining us on this journey. It's going to be very good. Oh yeah, the other thing I just wanted to mention is also, because it's optimistic, and I just is this whole thing about the national debt. So people are this FUD, and every year it happens. It's politically driven, and of course it's not good to be over leveraged, right? So we all know that. And so I'm going to talk about the other side of it, because nobody ever talks about the other side. And the fact is that I almost feel sometimes like wealthy, that the elites are hiding the power of debt, and are actually maybe even encouraging fear mongering about debt themselves, because they want to keep the power of leverage to themselves, or as other people crudely put, other people's money, but leverage. So that's what banks are for. And actually, if you have a growth business, if your business is growing, you're a fool to give away equity in your business. You would be if your growth is strong enough and it's cash flow, you would be better off to borrow to accelerate growth. And yeah, you could have a nice lifestyle business, and that's totally cool, and be less stress. Debt does bring stress, but if your ambition is growth, to really generate intergenerational wealth as a popular phrase these days, or generational wealth. That requires leverage. And even the super billionaires out there, the old money, they know this secret and they use it. They use it despite all the assets that they have. They never sell them. They just always borrow against them. But the trick is what they're using the money for. So forget about the national debt fixation. It's all about how that debt is being used. And if it's being invested in infrastructure and things that generate growth, if it is being used to not stimulus in terms of just giving away money, but if it's creating conditions and like in the rails, right? If is the best analogy, rails and roads, right? In the days when that was the main driver. Today, our roads and rails are SpaceX to get load into space, to get satellites into space for data centers and for energy collection and compute in space. So Musk has he controls the only railway to space, and that's actually the power of SpaceX. And the utility of those satellites once they get them up there, it is truly this is going to be, it already is the biggest company of all time by many measures, and by many measures. So there's many different ways of measuring it, but this is unprecedented what is possible, what Musk has with SpaceX and moving space compute into space. So yes, the debt is super high, and that needs to be managed, and you shouldn't, a company couldn't get away with spending more than they make for long periods of time, but actually, they're, smart use of debt, and that's a whole subject unto itself, but just say that, study it. If you're afraid of it, study it. If you love it, study it. And most people don't love it. Most people hate debt. And but it is there are a lot of ways to use debt. And here's a fact that GDP is correlated. It's not just there's a correlation, and in this case, it does mean causation. They say correlation doesn't mean causation. Well, in this case, and prove me wrong. I've written papers on it before, but there is globally, historically, since the Industrial Revolution, there's always a correlation between debt and GDP. So American innovation was fueled by debt, by being able to automobile loans, home appliance loans, home loans, the weapons systems, wars, even, on the negative side, health breakthroughs. All of these things were financed predominantly by debt early on, and then venture capital and other forms of financing have taken over. But debt is still, and that's Pavel Durov, the owner of Telegram, multi-billionaire. His company, owns 100% of the equity, and but he has gotten financing all through debt. So that is the other thing here is look at who owns the debt, right? So people talk about the debt, but look here, this green line is domestic ownership. So if you have $40 trillion in debt, but 30 trillion of that is owned by Americans, and that's been increasing. So so that means people have confidence, people that live here in this country, and also the foreign debt isn't so bad either, especially if foreign countries are, as long as they don't have too much, but it's a vote of confidence. If foreign countries view U.S. debt as a safe haven, what does that tell you about our economy? So I'm just tired of hearing everybody saying the same thing, okay? So I know overspending is a problem. Everybody knows that. And I think that's, media just likes to latch onto that because it's such an easy thing. Everybody knows that overspending is a problem. So they say overspending is, the overspending problem. And yeah, there's a ton of waste, fraud, and abuse. Cut that, the deficit goes away. It really does immediately, and then we could do away with taxes. Imagine that. That is really a goal. And replace them with tariffs. These are all really interesting ideas. So I know that most people that listen here are thinkers and critical thinkers and have critical thinking skills. So use those critical thinking skills and try to educate somebody else a little bit, and just so that it's just this group think. It's never going to go away, but we don't despair, right? Think globally and act locally, right? Not just by sharing something educational or somebody's like, hey, but what about this? Have you ever thought about this angle on, can we grow our way out of debt? And Musk is not, I think Musk and I, Musk is more hawkish on debt than I am. And, but even Musk has about a year ago started saying, actually this problem is completely solvable with AI and crypto. If you shut those things down, so that means if you stop the data centers, if you stop the AI, we're in trouble. But that's not going to happen. That's not happening, and so and that won't. If we keep our focus on and attention on that, and by gifting a little bit of SPOCK to somebody, or a lot of SPOCK to somebody, like a meaningful amount, giving somebody, doing the sharing is caring program and giving somebody $20 worth of, and they don't even have to know anything about crypto. They don't have to have a wallet yet. Just go into the Genius wallet, give somebody a gift that's a more meaningful amount, and then they're going to say, well, they see that they've got $20 waiting for them. They're going to do the 3 or 4 clicks it takes to find out how it works. Boom, you've got somebody who is now being educated about cryptocurrency and about AI. So BROK, the educational component of BROK and SPOCK and this whole project is something that could be talked about more. And I think that's one of the reasons that we've got a good shot of winning the X Prize competition, is because of this. We do make a social impact. We care about social impact, and we're teaching people about health, teaching people about AI, we're teaching people about crypto by engaging them in the act of participation. And you can be a part of that by giving somebody a gift and using that function. And now we have Hestia, so she can help people too, only on the phone. And so that is a pretty powerful component in many ways. Yeah, I'm over time here, so I'll stop there. But that Hestia is we talked about Clio, a company that has only one small component of what we have with BROK and SPOCK, and they don't have a crypto, but they've got a money coach on an app that will roast you or toast you. That's their claim to fame, and their market cap is $1 billion. And so we have more than enough to be able to exceed that level of performance. And when you exceed that level of performance, valuations should follow. And so that puts us again in a different category, where it's not just based on the liquidity and market capitalization. Well, it affects the market capitalization and the liquidity, but it's not based on the token alone. And SPOCK, as fun as he is, it's not based on that alone. It's based more so on the real company, the real technology and utility that we have behind all of this. All right, so thanks everyone. Live long and prosper. I'm going to be heads down, building and have been working on contracts and all that this last couple of days, and I think all that will get signed off here shortly, and then we're going to be iterating very, very quickly to get the agentic commerce side actually firing way ahead of schedule is the plan. So I won't give you exact dates yet, but before the end of the year. And so live long and prosper, everyone.